is Marina from Dark Star Astrology, bringing you Mercury Retrograde. We're in the shadow period at the moment, and it starts properly on February the 18th and it ends on March the 9th. Now, it will go through the signs of Pisces and Aquarius, and but most of the time it's going to be in Pisces Decan 1. So I'm going to focus on that decan for the meaning. But what's kind of interesting is that it actually changed directions both times on the borders of both the other decans. So it will station retrograde on the border of Pisces Decan 2, and it will station direct on the borders of Aquarius Decan 3. So while it stations with Mercury, it's in a state of flux anyway for a few days. So it the change in flavour is actually quite fitting. So it's better not to plan anything for this wobbly moment where time becomes warped and has a weird spaced out feeling anyhow. So it's better to concentrate on when Mercury is rather more predictable and less in a state of fermentation. So what's Pisces Decan 1 all about? Well, it is traditionally Mercury debilitated in Pisces, so that isn't really surprising when you look at it through the lens of our left brain logical society. How can Mercury work well when it's submerged in the psychedelic sea of Pisces, especially the whimsical Pisces Decan 1? However, Mercury always has two sides to it. So if you look at this alchemically, and also the fact that it has both an evening and morning star interpretation, Mercury also retrogrades 3 or 4 times a year, which just means that we're given the opportunity to balance and bridge both sides of our brains. So this is actually a good thing. The problem is that traditional astrology is geared towards successful production in the material world. And this is why we see dire warnings of loss, slander, imprisonment, because Mercury can also be a thief, and peculiarities, unquote. That's what's found with some of the fixed stars that reside here, and I'll go on to look at those in more detail. However, despite the right brain bias in my research, 2 very apparently left brain type of people head the nativity list of people that have their Mercury here. And that's probably due to the influence of Fomalhaut, fixed star Fomalhaut, which is really magical and lovely, but it also gives scientific talent. So I didn't really find any evidence of debilitation with Mercury in Pisces, Decan 1 anyway. But I did see some evidence of the, quote, peculiarities, unquote, losses and slander indicated by some of the natives. Some good examples of Mercury in Pisces Decan 1 as an energy are Charles Darwin, Richard Dawkins, I can never say his name, Eckhart Tolle, I don't know, Manly P. Hall, Dane Rudyard, Elizabeth Taylor, very dreamy Pisces woman, Peaches Geldof, Nancy Spungen. Both of those, I think, were suicides or drug overdoses, actually, maybe accidental ones. Elizabeth Barrett Browning, Thomas More, Bill Hillary Clinton Davidson, and Bjorn and Benny from ABBA. They're Davidson as well. And obviously they were very gifted songwriters. I've also got a little diagram that I did, and excuse my scrappy writing, but I just thought it's the easiest thing for me to do is just to write it in with the tablet, and then I can do this every time now. I've got this like little diagram I made up, so I can just fill it in for each retrograde, so you can kind of see how it goes through the degrees and then goes backwards. So that's my little invention there. So halfway through this Mercury retrograde, we get the Sun Cadzimi Mercury, where the Sun is exactly conjunct Mercury, and it will actually make a very useful and passionate sextile to Mars at the same time, and Mars will be sharply focused on fixed star faces. But even though faces can have some negative and ruthless meanings, the sextile provides a channel for its penetrating stare, and this makes it great for any esoteric study and creativity when combined with the poetic dream world of Pisces Decan 1. So on February the 25th, here opens the window of wonderfulness where we can stand in the eye of the hurricane, but then emerge miraculously in one piece. So you can make use of that Sun conjunct Mercury moment, which is called Kadzimi in traditional astrology. Send a romantic message that really hits the mark, or pitch an artistic idea. So try as close as these times as you can. It's going to be February the 21st at 5:45 p.m. PST, 8:45 p.m. EST, and on February the 26th for London GMT, 1:45 a.m. and 2:45 a.m. for Europe, Central European time. So I'll give you the link at the bottom so you can have access to those times. I've also got a list of the key dates when Mercury will hit certain stars. I won't read, I'll just sort of skim over them so you get an idea. So Mercury on Scat, there are some dates for that. I'll just give you the Mercury dates for it, but you can see that there are dates for the pre-shadow and the post-shadow. So on the 22nd and 3rd of February, you get peculiar events, occult, interest, psychic, and many friends. Then on the 27th of February, you get Mercury on Deneb Agidi, which is in the Swan. And that's an idea magician, the poet, the actor, or the shaman, intuitive thinking, seeking an enchanted world, which is, enchanted is definitely this kind of energy for this Mercury retrograde. On the 28th of February, we get Mercury on Fomalhaut, the famous magical Persian royal star. And that is many losses and disappointments, unlucky in business, better servant than master, writes or receives secret letters, worry through slander, imprisonment or damaged reputation, domestic difficulties, sickness of a Saturnian nature. I don't know whether that's to do with the coronavirus as well. That's pretty negative for Mercury on Fomalhaut, even though it's supposed to be a lucky start. It can flip over. It can be wonderfully, that's the whole thing with Neptune, isn't it? That any kind of Neptunian, dreamy, right brain type of energy can flip over to indulgence. So that's probably why, especially Mercury, because Mercury is tricky. So, but Bernadette Brady has a different meaning for this. She says it's to have an idealistic vision or to deceive, the poet or the liar. She says both. To be persuasive with one's words. On the 29th of February, we get Mercury on Sadal Melik, and that's occult interests. Again, you get all this occult. And research criticised, favourable for friendship, success in large companies, loss through servants. What's this loss with servants? I guess in those days you had servants. We don't anymore, so no more loss, unless it's your cleaner comes in and steals your jewellery. I don't know. And Bernadette Brady says, an agile and nimble person whose ideas appeal to others, an intuitive, creative thinker, one who can see business opportunities where others cannot. The first quotes were from Robson, by the way, who's a bit more negative because he's kind of older. So, that's the kind of flavour of Mercury retrograde. So what I'm going to do now is read through Mercury through the signs so you can get an idea what it will mean for you. I'm doing this really for the rising signs because then you'll know which house that it's going through. So it's really geared towards the rising signs. But if you read it for your sun sign, it will have a sort of diluted effect because you have to take into account that it's more like just a what's the word? It'll be making a positive or negative aspect to your sun. So for Aries, until this retrograde is direct again, you will feel rather hermit-like and want to retreat from communicating with the world. It may be because you fear that what you say will be misconstrued, or every word that tumbles out of your mouthpiece will cause chaos like a runaway train. Something is triggering you big time to the point you feel like you are suffering from a kind of abusive Tourette's. If this is the case, then yes, it would be sensible to ban yourself from any internet forums. Mercury is clowning around in your zone of self-undoing, so self-censorship might be wise in the outside world also. For Taurus, Mercury swoops backwards in your hopes and dreams sector, which will force you into facing whether these hopes are realistic or not. It may be a time now to revise your goals. Are they too high or not high enough? Have you even had the time to sit down and envision some kind of dream future scenario? If not, then this is the very moment. So daydream as much as you can. It's not time wasting at all, because what you're doing is manifestation. Yes, it's corny, but you have to have a wish to make a wish come true. In some cases, it's even about being careful what you wish for. For you might think you want to live in a certain high status neighborhood, but think about the vibe of the people there. Will you always be putting on a front? So Gemini, during this time you might find that the publicity side of your business becomes important, especially your online presence. It's quite a good time for a rebrand, but wait until Mercury direct before you unveil the new look. How you communicate yourself to the wider world is under review, and you might have to hold back while you rethink your presentation strategy. There could be an incident where there is some kind of miscommunication, which makes you realise that you do have to work on making yourself clearer. This is weird because I'm Gemini rising, and during this retrograde, I really want to put my house on the market, but I can't. I don't want to risk it, but I am going to be redecorating. So that's how I'm using it. So it's more like publicity of my house and online presence, what it's going to look like on what's it called? Move.com or whatever it is. So just a bit of an example there for you. So for Cancer, start to learn a foreign language. Yes, go on. It's utterly the best time for it, mainly because even your mother tongue will sound like Swahili to you. So you may as well go the whole hog. I would love to advise you to travel too, but every other astrologer on the planet will be screaming, no! Well, damn it, I'm still going to advise travel, but we have to be a bit clever to out-trick the trickster. So first, check if during this Mercury retrograde period, making a hard aspect to the ruler of your third house, which is local journeys, or the ruler of this house. If not, then you're good to go. This is probably third house stuff, so it's probably okay, like local journeys, but I don't know if I'd do any flying at this time, not with coronavirus. I know that sounds a bit paranoid, but not advised, I don't think. Also, just to interject here, because of the sort of Neptunian feel of Pisces and not having strong borders and not having strong immune systems, I just think it makes things like airborne viruses a lot more flowy, easily flowing. So yeah. Okay, so for Leo, Mercury steals Pluto's invisible helmet and goes deep into the underworld during this time. This might mean that you probe into the deepest recesses of your mind or want to penetrate the psyche of a loved one. Be careful that you respect the boundaries of this other person, because the questions could easily become an unhealthy invasion of their privacy. This transit can feel to others around you that they're being interrogated by the Gestapo. So avoid this tendency by investigating the human psyche in general, rather than experimenting with actual human brains. You could feel unusually psychic at this time. Also, since the ability to effortlessly pass through different dimensions is enhanced. Again, viruses. Virgo. Don't worry about viruses. Anyway, no. Virgo will not be obsessing about health at this Mercury retrograde. Instead, it will be, we need to talk, the dreaded sentence that comes out during Mercury retrograde in the house of relationships. This doesn't mean that you're being fired for being the other half, but it does mean that you cannot avoid revealing what is behind your glazed eyes. Yes, even Scorpios. It will be very obvious that you do have something on your mind, so just be honest and get it all out. It's all good health. At least Mercury here can be quite objective about things and avoid triggering sensitive childhood wounds. You will be pleasantly surprised that you can discuss intimate matters quite coolly and dispassionately, like a doctor. So for Libra, nervous energy is high during this period and you could turn into quite a worrywart. Retrogrades can slow things down, but in this sector, what Mercury tends to do is to replay things like an old vinyl record stuck in a groove. This can mean that anxieties spiral out of control as you become obsessed with the minutiae of life. This is also the health house too, so you could also become quite a hypochondriac. I won't mention the obvious because I'm becoming a bit obsessed with it. But there's a positive way to deal with all this nitpicking, and that is to go 120% into researching whatever is concerning you. Instead of just worrying in ignorance, become an expert. As you study all the facts, your brain cells will be jumping for joy with all those lists that you are making. For Scorpio, Mercury is the arch trickster in your fifth house of fun, and it's most playful. During this time, you're most likely to have the urge to play pranks on people. The problem is there is a high chance that they will backfire, so just don't do that. However, you should take advantage of the silliness that is pervading the air and go see some comedy shows or such like. It will be rip-roaring fun as laughter is infectious. This is a time when you can get the giggles over nothing at all, so probably not the best time to take on board anything serious. You will find it very hard to be tactful because your trickster tongue will have a mind of its own. Sagittarius, you will feel like withdrawing from discussions with those in the outside world at this time. You're not in the mood for heated debates on current affairs. Instead, it seems that your thoughts are looking into the distant past and maybe old memories are coming back to haunt you. Try to think of what could be sparking off this nostalgia. The information that you're receiving could be firing up those neural pathways through music you listened to as a teen, or maybe someone at work is wearing a fragrance that a past lover used to wear. Capricorn, this is a great time for in-depth researching. You'll be feeling much more inclined to spend time looking into many topics and getting your teeth into some juicy subject matter. Those studying for exams will find they can easily get their head down and ignore pressure from others to come out and play. On the other hand, those writing a thesis will find it hard to actually stop digging for information and finally start putting it all down on paper. So for Aquarius, prepare to get your merchant head on for the next few weeks while you have a natural feeling for buying and selling. This will not be the perfect time to sign a contract for a large purchase, such as a car or house, but you could do quite well testing ideas out and dealing in actual retro items. You might pick up some bargains in an auction also if you have a particularly strong natal Mercury. Interesting, because this is my sun, and again, you know, obviously not a good time for me to be buying a large house, but maybe I could be buying some second-hand stuff to spruce up the house for selling. Sorry, just giving you some examples there. I just thought it was interesting too. So yeah, I have said before about, you know, transcending Mercury retrograde and not letting it control your life, but I still I still can't bring myself to do it. And anyway, I've got quite a lot of decorating to do, so I think that's probably what's happened. It's slowing me down here. Anyway, Pisces, this is an important time for getting your thoughts clear before you express yourself. What you say will be paid very close attention to, so that each nuanced word will be amplified. Mercury retrograde has the effect of echoing messages, tweets or letters over time, so that it's not easy to forget the words that are said. That is why it is of utmost importance that you mean what you say and say what you mean. Any communications you make will stick around as if they were engraven on clay tablets and will last just as long. So yeah, that's the report. If you want to go to the link below, you can find a bit more detail on the important dates, the positions of the stars, etc. And also the meaning of retrograde planets in general, and also what Mercury retrograde as well means just generally too. So thanks for listening, all the best, and I'll see you next time. Bye-bye.